More people are boarding the ship. It's quite a crew we have here, folks. I think I was at 568. I mean, a little thanks to Robnus V2 there for the extra help last night. I think I got 10 new subscribers. So welcome, everybody. Artist Journal, January 31st, 2023, broadcasting to the world from Berlin, Germany. My name is Adrian Pocobelli. I welcome you all, old and new, to this show, and here we go. So Uxine, making it look easy again, and I think this is a manifold XYZ, and we have a couple of corrections or clarifications from a couple of artists, and you gotta love it from my perspective when, you know, great artists like Uxine and Has Dribble Waffle are chiming in because they saw something on the show. Robnus V2, I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches over here. So anyways, enjoy the good times while they're here. You never know what happens. So anyways, with that, let's look at Uxine. And Uxine, he had a great title on this one. Let's take a quick look. If you are going through hell, keep going. You know, sage advice, by the way. Keep walking. Keep walking. Keep going. If you're going through hell, we've all been through hell, and we all probably will go through hell. So sage advice, actually. 10 of 10 have been minted, 0.69. So a cool, 10 grand, maybe a little more, actually, for Uck on this work. And a great work with the, all the trademarks. Like he's got his own, toolbox of iconography, the friar, the skeleton with the, the gift out, flashing, and brilliantly done, by the way. Like, let me just show you here. And a lot of people who are familiar with Uxine's work are gonna, but you see this over here? It's like these little details. Just this kind of digital noise and distortion that he puts in here that really are just the, I want to call it the missing link, that added detail that when you look up close to what Uxine's doing, it stands up and it's wonderful to see. So anyways, really fun to watch his progress over here. Now, let's see if we can continue here. So this was pretty hilarious. Mardo, our pirate ship in the sky is now being, we have a visual, as I said on Twitter, so this is pretty hilarious, as we are building it in midair. So here we go. So anyways, Mardo made it a prompt somehow and made this beautiful work here of this pirate ship in the sky. That is wonderful. So anyways, I don't know if she's going to mint it. So just hilarious. So continuing on, big announcement, I guess. So tomorrow, I have a really packed schedule here. I actually, you wouldn't believe I have to finish this show that I'm actually going to show in Berlin tomorrow. But before that, we're going to do a Twitter Spaces on the same subject. What are the main genres of digital art? And so let me get out of this mode. Here we go. We're discussing the main categories of digital art on this week's salon on Twitter Spaces. Join Runetoon and I and have your say. So just as like a primer here, I've been putting this show together for just like, it's very low-key, kind of friends and some artist friends sort of thing at the Kino, the cinema at the back of Zed Bar, this small theater and this cool bar in Mitte. Anyways, these are the categories that I'm working with right now. So just to get you sort of thinking, I have pixel art, vintage software, glitch, media art, which kind of is more or less the GIF category, animated shorts, which is more or less the video category, abstract, collage, digital painting, illustration, generative art, and AI. So maybe that's too few, maybe that's too many, maybe that's totally not right according to your thoughts. So here, my friends, is your chance to weigh in. Let me pin this to my profile here. So if you just go to my Twitter profile, you can set a reminder and have your say. I'm sure Runetoon's going to have a lot to say. I've been really ruminating about it as I've been going over and really creating this show. And I have halfway to go, so let me continue here. So that is happening tomorrow, Wednesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then at 8:30, if you're 8:30 in the evening Berlin time, so a few hours later, we're going to put a show up in the cinema there at Zed Bar, Kino in Zed Bar. And it's just going to loop. I'm going to do introductory remarks at 8:30, basically talking a little bit about what we just talked about there. A big shout out, thank you. We're selling more of these 8-bit nature works. Rain went to Magician, and the Rainbow went to Lou Greed, and I believe also Beach went to Lou Greed. So thanks, guys. That is awesome. I saw my wallet perk up a little bit this morning, so that was really cool. So back to Uxine. So Uxine left a comment, which is totally awesome. And I was talking about this work yesterday, and I was sort of saying, I think, I was sort of speaking off the cuff and just being like, I think it was like mint in an hour, or like I'm going to take the top 10 offers in an hour. But always go to Uxine's Twitter to get the full details. And I'm not sure if there was an issue with sometimes it's tricky when you're trying to take offers. I've seen it repeatedly with Louis Osborne and others. So he mentioned, Uxine left a comment, lack of detailed tools. I started to pick random 9, a one top offer above 250, as always trying things. So don't go based on what I said. Always go to Uxine's Twitter feed, and it's always great to hear from you, Uxine, who's a longtime watcher of the show, and we've been showing his art for a long time. So it's awesome. Great dude. And also one other thing here. This is kind of funny. So remember Charles AI used meta in his tweet, and just very quick context. Bishop Kanye said, you asked if meta is a typo. It's a term from video games when players find the best weapon or strategy to win. It's referred to as the current meta. For example, the shotgun meta is when shotguns are overpowered and the best weapon to easily win. When this inevitably happens, the game devs will update the shotgun to reduce its damage. So in other words, Charles AI was talking about open editions as the current meta, as far as I understand the use of the term. So that was not a typo. So thank you, Bishop Kanye, for weighing in there. And thank you for all the comments, everyone. Very cool. And continuing on, just one more comment from a few episodes ago that came in, and I thought this was quite interesting. Joe Chiappetta, as a longtime cartoonist, collector, and crypto artist, I very much appreciate your comparison between the golden age of comics and the NFT space. It is a spot-on analysis that sadly most of the traditional comic market and critics of today have not been taking very seriously yet. It is interesting. Like, I worked in a comic store and was obsessed with comics from about the age of, let's say, 12 to maybe 18, like totally obsessed. And like a lot of my collecting sort of chops come from comic collecting and whatever. And yeah, having been obsessed with that, you go back and you look at the Silver Age comics and the Golden Age comics. And to Joe's point, it is surprising to see not more comic people kind of get on board the NFT thing, because it has all the hallmarks of the classicness of a golden age. Like when you see, as we're going to see here, Robness V2 minting the right-click save as guy and pulling in, thousands and thousands of dollars, and everybody else, frankly, or Charles AI, you name it, pulling in all this money. To me, this is not a normal situation. Like, it's easy to take for granted, but I don't see this as normal. I see this has all the hallmarks of, the Roaring 20s. It's one of those things. Like, can you believe it when someone could just mint something and walk away with 10 grand the next day? Like this is not normal. Okay. And so anyways, I think this is really great because I'm kind of out on a limb when I'm saying this is like the golden age of comics. I mean, I'm not saying that because I heard that somewhere else. So for me, it's kind of reaffirming or confirming to somewhat, there's someone else who agrees, it's very interesting to hear that from Joe Chiappetta. So thanks for the comment. I think it's just a very interesting analogy. Robnus V2, thanks for the shout out. Look at this. Props to Pocobelli in all caps, in his trademark all caps, and honestly am honored to even have Duchamp even brought up. As I said in my comment, it genuinely feels like it wasn't just saying it for the, to make some hay here out of stuff. It genuinely felt like a Duchamp moment. And what was also interesting, as I mentioned yesterday, I don't think just anybody could have pulled that off. I think, again, this is the guy who did the McDonald's resume, right? And when the bear market hit, or when things started to go bad like a year and a half ago now, or maybe that was a year ago. So he has a track record of doing this kind of thing. And so, yeah, so I think he's kind of uniquely positioned, shall we say, to actually kind of pull this off in a credible way, okay? And then doing it. And then having the idea and then doing it. And a very nice comment here, probably the best YouTube content actually referencing art. So thank you, Robnus. Awesome to hear from you. It's great when there's people you've been talking about on the show chime in. I mean, that, as I said, for a long time, the people that watch this show are the people who are in this show. So anyways, great to have you watching, Robnus. Totally awesome. And a big contributor to the thought, not to use a cliche, but a thought leader in the space, as we all know, who pay attention. And I just thought we could look at the amount that have been minted. So he's at 10 ETH now, 10.5 ETH. So again, nice payday. Very, very nice. And RJ, are out of Recluse here, our artist in Recluse, out of Recluse now. Losing it over this. A crazy good collection of artists here. Thank you so much for the inclusion, Pocobelli. As Robnus Official has said, an honor. So that is totally awesome. And again, this is like a visual journal or a video journal of basically kind of my thoughts on the scene. So it's not my point to go out there and really promote all these artists, but if that's an accidental effect of me just kind of saying, look at how great this is and I can't believe, then I think that's awesome. So this is great. So that is great. So awesome to hear, RJ. I'm a big fan. And truly, I was heartbroken to see those one-of-ones disappear on Object about 3 weeks ago. Hasdrubal Waffle, or Hasdrubal Wolf, at Teen Wolf 2. So back to the waffle situation here. Another awesome show, the AI Polaroids. Another clarification, actually. The AI Polaroids and Captain's Gift Shop one-of-ones are so rad. Totally agree. Just to clarify, I am an animal lover too, with 4 cats and other assorted animals, and a member of the Humane Society. The pieces are juxtaposing dark films by Mike and Godard with the cuteness of Richard Scarry. So, yeah, and I never would have imagined, actually, that Hasdrubal Wolf, as he's now calling himself, was anything other than a animal lover. He's one of the nicest people you'll actually find on Twitter. So I wanted to make sure to highlight this, though, because it could be misconstrued, especially when I was saying, I'm a cat lover, so it's hard to look at this one. But he is also a cat and animal lover. And as he actually says here, just want to mention it because I am part animal after all. So anyways, and there he is, the wolf, Hasdrubal Wolf. So glad, thank you for the clarification and happy to share that. And he also, I have to mention this, I mean, this is hilarious. He also posted Wesley Willis, who most of you might not be familiar with, but if you're of a certain age, Nirvana kind of made a big deal about Wesley Willis. He was a guy who lived on the street, but released an album that was kind of a cult classic. And a lot of us had this album, Wesley Willis's Greatest Hits. And, Hasdrubal Waffle might not believe me because I mentioned how I met Jello Biafra at his 50th birthday. There's just a few of us, at least in the afternoon there, and I still haven't found the picture. I need to email Vale. I hope to get Vale on a program. I haven't talked to him in years, maybe 3 or 4 years. Anyways, I met Wesley Willis, believe it or not, Hasdrubal Wolf, when he came to Saskatoon, Saskatchewan on tour, Rock and Roll McDonald's. We actually had a bit of a moment, which was hilarious. Very nice guy. I'm not sure if he's still alive. So anyways, check out this Rock and Roll McDonald's. I would play this, but the copyright police will probably be on my tail if I do that. And again, the waffle situation continues to mystify. So here's Santiago changing his name to Santiago. And I changed my name to that because the series Neats by Teen Wolf 2 hit 100 tokens, and they will be back doing Neat 1 of 1. So it's all Greek to me over here. So interesting to follow what these guys are up to, though. And finally, and then we're actually going to look at some art here. The great Pocobelli found the right title, and this is what I wanted to... So he's gone official, is what I want to say. Acid Boy is now officially a master of psychedelic abstraction. So, like I replied in the tweet, I don't know what else to call you. Like, what would you, So anyways, master of psychedelic abstraction. Tezos has released his studio tour, and let me tell you, if you are a glitch person, this is for you. So you can hear, I don't know if you can hear it.
Skills to make it look like this.
All right.
Anyone familiar with chroma keying or green?
So Tezos, the maker of extremely rich glitch work, is revealing all. So how cool is this? Look at this. He's like, use this HDMI converter. I mean, this is getting in the weeds, and so you have to love this.
Back up to 10.
And then he shows the whole process.
Processor and a CRT television.
So how cool is that? So if you are interested in knowing Tezos' process, whether you are a collector or an artist, and how he gets those incredibly rich textures, well, he reveals all how I glitch furniture for tomorrow's Modern Home Furniture series. How cool is that? So give that a like. Very cool. And here's the latest. So into the art we go at last. Tezos Future End Table. So so I think we could call this glitch, in that category. Weigh in if you feel otherwise. These categories blend into each other. But anyways, here is a very nice piece. Again, Future End Table, I was going to say they almost look like speakers. Maybe they are a table and a speaker. I'm not sure. I used to have a name for this kind of furniture. I used to call it Space Age 70s. And I kind of feel like he's on the same tip a little bit. Like we're zeroing in on a similar dynamic, which was kind of architecture and furniture, shall we say, and that stylings from the 70s that were kind of space age. And I kind of feel like he's really just zeroed in and nailed on that whole vibe, aesthetic, motif, whatever you want to call it. Elby, another glitch artist, checkered using Edirolve and a Panasonic, I believe, mixer, recorded with capture cards. So very cool. So more of an abstract one from Elby. So again, these guys could hang in the same show. You could have like Elby and Tezos and many more. Like there's Max Capacity and many more. Kurt Hustle Collective has a new 3-minute and 48 episode of the Talk Night Show. So I'm not gonna play the whole thing, but I am gonna give you a taste, so you know what's going on here. And it's kind of like a detective.
I'm currently driving downtown to DBO Studios to look for clues following the disappearance of Trimmy T. Trimson.
I mean,
several signs the public have witnessed, myself included, are leading me to believe this has a direct correlation with the broadcast catastrophe in '97.
So you're going to have to go to his page to watch the whole thing. This is a 1 of 1, by the way. And let's just see what happens here. You see that? So immaculate production here, and hilarious, and everything we love about these guys. Again, 1 of 1. And yeah, paper trail, so kind of like a detective episode there. So very cool from Kurt Hustle Collective. And continuing on, I just found this on Twitter, which is, again, such a great art discovery tool, particularly for digital art, right? Are you spiraling up or down? This is by Les Cogumelos, who I hadn't heard of before. A really cool GIF here. Almost like golden ratio stuff going on over here. And then, so he has a super rare. So I checked that out. And so again, Twitter is a real great discovery tool for digital artists, to state the obvious. And here you go again. So, and it's not like that was for sale. It was just, posting his work. So again, it's really worthwhile as an artist to just post your work, because it's just free advertising is really what it is. An opportunity, we were talking about it, and I kind of hate the term funnel, using the consumer funnel or whatever it is, but the collector funnel we've kind of been discussing here, and why not? I mean, we're in the business of art and as well, and the funnel, you could argue one of the entry points into the funnel is posting your work on Twitter, and that doesn't mean you are posting something that you just minted, okay? So we're back to that, and here I end up on Super Rare and on Les Cogumelos page. So out of Brazil, interesting artist, Nurse of Kindred by Popple. So the latest in the Sanitarium series, and this you can buy for 10 Tezos. I'm not sure if that's primary or secondary. So the mystery continues here with this mysterious monster series called Sanitarium. Very interesting. Is this on primary? So there's one left. It's probably gone by the time you watch this, on primary for 10. So a cool 250 Tezos, which is more than $300 these days. And look at the little young birds here, and that looks like brain. That's great. Sometimes I have to look at this stuff twice, if that's what's going on. And probably another amazing poem here. I'm going to risk reading this poem because, again, I'm not a big poetry guy, but Popple, I think, is a great writer. She tends to them with gentle care, these creatures that others scare, their teeth and claws, their scales and horns, yet to her, they're just forlorn. There's a real, romantic, capital R, like 19th century kind of feel to his meter and to his rhyme. Wirus, Pixels, Gray Sky, just a discovery on Twitter. Here you go, just a very basic contrast here of, you could say, like brushwork and texture with big chunky pixels. I was going to say almost reminiscent of Sky Goodman, and there's Sky Goodman chiming in. Beautiful. So that is cool. Anyways, nice piece. Pixels, Gray Sky. So also, the Recluses are coming out. Gogolitis, who I haven't heard or seen from since August, or I was in Crete, actually. It was maybe July. Was the last kind of mention I remember of Gogolitis. And I hope to see him back. He just put out this tweet yesterday. A late thank you for you guys for collecting on secondary one of my early pixel art pieces, Robotic Delivery Service. And if you don't know Gogolitis, he is like a pixel art classic. And there's a lot. I was on his page. So this is one of his pages here. This is second page. I mean, this is a total classic here. And, edition of 15 for 1770, Giant Cube Factory. This is an edition of 40, but this is a total classic as well. I think I brought this up. Here are some of the early works. I mean, Color Factory, look at that. And so here's Mystery Box Factory. Just to, most of you who have been on Tezos for 6 months, let's say, will know this, but a lot of you might not. So I share, look at how great this is. Kind of these pixel art factories is what I like to call them, and kind of playing on Mario a little bit. Beautiful, beautiful work. Interesting color, too, in this one. So anyways, I hope to see Gogolitis back. And look who else showed up. The guy who created the music for this show at the start, Tradscape, who a lot of you will be familiar with, who also does the music at the end. I was lucky to buy both those NFTs. And so anyways, Tradscape on the scene after a hiatus of sorts. So, interesting piece too. Look at the elk or whatever it is, these beautiful pixels. And he makes all the music. And you can kind of hear the waterfall in the background. Kind of serene, beautiful. Totally original, like a Tezos original artist. So anyways, you can watch the full minute and listen. Shimmer Falls, entrance to Shimmer Vaults, Guarded by a single sunbuck, does not appear on your map. Buy for 15, edition of 14, which is pretty low. And I brought up his page here. And as you see, like, yeah, that's not a bad deal at all there. And not financial advice, of course. Buy art because you like it. There's a tweet I was actually should have shown where someone was like, I think Rare put it out, and he was showing how this other guy who was buying the open editions, someone else's open edition, and that his investment was going bad because he bought 11 or something. And yeah, buy art because you like it. And I mean, you can speculate on it, but I mean, it's not exactly a liquid investment, okay? And you got to be ready to sit on it, and it may not turn out. So, you know, buy what you like. Like my own collection, even if it went to zero, I was talking to a collector that messaged me about a week ago. I'm not concerned about that. I mean, it would suck, but I'm not concerned about that because I feel like I have a major cultural trove, as many of you do who watch this program. So, you know, it's as we were saying, you know, time, not money, is the real measure. That will be the real judge, shall we say. So the market, you know, Tezos could easily go to 40 cents in the next 6 months, okay? Am I going to regret buying all that art? No, because I think bigger things are at stake here. So anyways, quick aside there. He did this brilliant work for the Hen reunion of The Witch with this awesome music. So anyways, and here's another one. I'm not sure what all this seemingly looking AI one-of-ones are, but he has this really great pixel art. I just don't know what, it was a project that I never followed and wasn't sure about. But you can find some really great pixel art, like this guy, the alchemist, and then I think Novitiate or something. And he, of course, did the Sewer King, which I'll play a little bit of. This was on the homepage of Object for a while. So, very cool. And the audio, like, again, he made the music for this show. Like, I bought the NFT. But he's a very talented musician and artist, okay? So hopefully Tradscape will continue to release. That would be awesome. Another kind of pixels and sound. So I believe we saw Manidal from the Tarot, the Cat Tarot. I believe it's the same artist here because it looks almost identical. So this is on Form Function. Pretty soothing. Would make a nice gift, you know. So anyway, cool work from Mantel, working with P with One. So maybe P1 did the music, and we also recognize them from Tezos. So very cool. Rustic digital art with a work called Don Quixote. So we see windmills made out of the cropped Mario Brothers. So now, I've only read the first 100 pages of Don Quixote, and you gotta love this cloud that looks like a mountain, but then leaves this tiny little thing here, so you're really not sure if it's a cloud. The irrationality, but I have read enough of Don Quixote, and I actually really want to pick it back up, because it feels like a must-read. But the great thing about Don Quixote that I remember is it's totally this mad guy who is hallucinating constantly. And so maybe, Dali loved Don Quixote, and actually Don Quixote, as my girlfriend would say, she's from Bolivia. And, I think Dali kind of was very inspired from a mythological, like on a personal level, by the spirit of Don Quixote. So interesting, I think, reference in the context of what I keep calling this very kind of irrational celebration of irrationality in this series here. So very interesting. One of one at auction for 50. And continuing on, I already know it's Santiago's. I always know Santiago's works because they take a while to load because they're 10,000 pixels large. Parallel, unrelated, forgotten memories of my childhood. So another abstraction here using vector shapes that came from Stable Diffusion, made soda cans in space, and other random thoughts. So it's pretty cool. And again, I like the square here. I don't think we showed this yesterday. It's pretty cool how he can take things from just anywhere and then kind of process them and then be left with something in his style. So what is this going for? Buy for 8. And yeah, this just was listed this morning, so we didn't show this yesterday. Excellent. So anyways, there are 14 left as I record this. And this also, some more information on it actually. A screenshot of my desktop background, which is today a digital painting made on Inkscape using vector shapes that came from Stable Diffusion, made soda cans in space, and other random thoughts. I mean, almost reminiscent at a distant level with Die with the Most Likes kind of stream of consciousness sort of style here, which goes very well, frankly, with this kind of art. It's kind of stream of consciousness art to a certain degree, but we're overstating things and we're not being super careful with our terms. Let's move on. At first, I thought this was Venta, Intro Void. So another artist that is using these sampled, you see kind of sampled brushes. And so just very interesting, treatment, we could say. And hard contrast here of this kind of staircase in the background with the fuzzy sun here. So I thought a very interesting work, again, with the cube here and the kind of, for lack of a better term, roughed up face with paint work, kind of reminiscent of Bacon, Francis Bacon on a distant level, isn't it? Especially with this space here, this created space. So very, very interesting digital painting on the blockchain, courtesy of Intro Void, reserve of 0.25. And hopefully we'll come back to their work at a future point as well. Hasdrubal Wolf with a new work that will be minted tomorrow, it was minted January 29th, deleted scene from Videodrome where James Woods loses his last bag of cheese puffs inside his abdomen. So maybe this was released. I haven't looked. We don't have time to go through, but we will return, obviously, to Hasdrubal Wolf. I thought this was just a nice GIF. As we kind of move into an illustration area. The atoms that make up my body dissolve night after night and float in the air. This is by Mireille Mizu. And how are we doing for time here? Good, 32 minutes. This is excellent. So just an interesting work here that I thought was attractive. Not minted anywhere that I know of. And Flora Marquez with a beautiful work that's at auction, 31st of January. I don't want to be a bad ghost. So these seem to be developing and getting more ambitious. So it's looking really beautiful. And I'd love to pick up another one of one from Flora Marquez, who has her own kind of little mythology. And I just love the treatment of this, as I keep saying, almost what look like mistakes or erased brush marks here. And she keeps it just Warhol's creed, embrace your mistakes. And Flora Marquez is doing that here. Antonio Loves with another one, and I believe this, I don't think we've seen this yet either, Angel Saints Prophet 16, Mount Horeb. So an interesting one with face for a sun and eyes. So kind of another one of these kind of mystical works here. This almost looks like a staff that's also a flute. And so very mysterious work. I think that's part of the joy of Antonio's work. And shout out, thanks for the comment, Antonio. Glad you're liking the curation here. I'm like the accidental curator is what I am, because I have zero ambitions to curate, but that's what I do, every day here, which is kind of funny. Maybe not zero ambitions, but you know what I'm saying. So anyways, just fascinating work here. I mean, it's easy to overlook, but you see the clouds, which are kind of strange and suggestive a tiny bit. And then you have these stars in the middle. I think it feels like art to me. Let's put it that way. So edition of 7. This is on secondary for 42. The collectors are loving it. And again, sold for $17.77 on primary. So very cool. Turkarak, who, I categorize with Ezra Eslin and Die with the Most Likes, is always kind of playing, like there's a slight, always playing with questions of taste and also kind of a dark vision of human nature, shall we say, or just kind of an edgy, satirical vision. So here's another one. Kind of picnickers, and maybe a mysterious work for me. Maybe other people have it looks like they're just kind of, I think you call that shotgunning, where you just down a beer and they're just, in nature here, on some grass at least, and kind of a more ambitious background from what I can tell here, almost a painterly background for Turkarak, and even the treatment of the figures is a little bit more painterly here. Interesting development from Turkarak. This was picked up, how much? For 15 from Captain Kimmy, who also likes Turkarak, I've noticed. Porta Malmar, so remember our collage artist, has raised the prices. Remember, you could put in an offer for like 3 or 4 Tezos. Now, this digital collage artist, now they want 20, which I think is totally legit, especially after they've kind of paid their dues and they've given away, frankly, a lot of art for almost nothing. So here's a new one, Usted no es su mente, collage number 634, nice resolution by Porta Malmar. So very cool. And continuing on into AI, we go Marina Amadova with a beautiful work here that just showed up on Twitter. I'm not sure if this has been minted, but it looks great. AI really just stretching the possibilities here, just making combinations that you just never would have thought of without the AI. I assume this is AI. Done in Marina Amadova's trademark style. There's a book that I've mentioned previously called The Nature of Technology, which is actually a fascinating book. I've only read the first third, but it goes through actually the philosophy of technology. It was a financial guy that was recommending it, big Bitcoin lover from the trad finance world. I can't remember his name. Bill, he wears the Bitcoin hat, interviewed every 6 months or so. Anyways, in the philosophy of technology, combination is one of the elements that brings about new technology. So you may have the elements of a jet engine, like a semiconductor and then some, piece of metal that is, advanced. And once they come together, then all of a sudden you have a jet engine. And that is kind of how one of the ways that technology moves forward. And I kind of see that with AI here. We're seeing different elements, say like these abstract circular elements are being combined with the individual, like say a traditional painting of a person, of a young woman here. And they're being combined. And that is really the evolution that we're seeing here. None of these on their own are original. But when you put them together, the bubbles and the flowers put this way, and then the portrait, and then these strange, amazing flowers, then it all becomes kind of new. So that's the evolution. Really nice there, too. So anyways, very cool. Our Pirate Ship in the Sky artist, Marteau, also put out another beautiful work, Spiralure. So she's on a roll, and just kind of a magical kind of ninja figure coming out of the clouds here. And what looks like a Middle Eastern city in the background here, or architecture. Almost looks like, 14th century Baghdad, if I had to guess, or something. So anyways, very interesting from Mardo. And Sum, finally, with some rooms here, some very nice additions to her AI artist studio works here. So here's one, and here is another, kind of focusing on the chair a little. Interesting how she's, the roughness I really like. There's always this balance between the roughness and the painterliness. And so anyways, it's very fun to watch Sum evolve here, speaking of evolution. And this looks like there's maybe a bed. I'm not sure. So it's so suggestive, you can't even tell. Again, impressionistic, and these beautiful brushstrokes here, but created by AI. So very cool, and a new Polaroid from Danielle King, a new AI portrait via Polaroid. Very brilliant idea, and this one's quite convincing. Beautiful piece, one of one. Let's just see if it's sold, if it has been listed yet. Listed for $50 and sold within 2.5 hours to Klaus Wilke, and that, my friends, is the show. Let me just show you this piece of technology, because we do like to keep tabs. So this is a VR thing. I know I'm late to the party here, but Maestro is a fantastic concept. It's more than just another VR music rhythm game. Using hand tracking, you take control of a full orchestra. Oh, and this demo is free. Okay, so just to give you a clue here. So there is VR conducting games, I guess. And visually quite interesting, isn't it? I mean, a lot of us have used video games. It's like a trope, using video games as a kind of visual template to make artwork. And so, using that logic, then we can start to look at the VR and go, well, how is that going to transform into art? Look at this. I mean, pretty cool. Amazing. So anyway, I'll stop that before the copyright police come. Thank you for joining me once again. I hope to see you on Twitter Spaces tomorrow. Come in, chime in. It's always a great discussion. Thank you for joining me, and until next time, take care.